Every sport has its fair share of trash talk, but things have lately moved to a whole new level in tennis. From Nick Kyrgios telling Stan Wawrinka who his girlfriend's been sleeping with, to Alexander Bublik abusing Andy Murray's mom. Here are all the times tennis players disrespected other players. This first one is truly outrageous. It's the time Alexander Bublik crossed the line with Andy Murray. The British defeated Alexander Bublik by a score of 6-3, 7-6 in the round of 16 at the 2022 Stuttgart Open. After cruising to victory in the first set, Murray was behind the second set tiebreaker 2-5. But the British player got back on his feet, came out swinging, and won the tiebreaker to seal the match in straight sets. Now, I agree that it was a frustrating match, but that in no way justifies what happened next. Thanks to Alexander, things got so ugly that everyone forgot about Murray's win for a while, and people could talk about the drama. Bublik couldn't return a shot, sending the ball into the bleachers as Murray served for the set. Disappointed, he began yelling obscenities at the umpire, at Andy, and the other officials in Russian, but surprisingly, no official caught what he was saying. But hey, the camera never misses. A camera caught the abuse, and it looked like Alexander said to Murray, "Is he going to make mistakes? No, then f*** you, I'm screwed. I f***ed your mom twice, and I hate that." Ouch. Why bring his mom into this? Anyway, this next one is pretty recent. Let's talk about how Nick Kyrgios has recently been dropping truth bombs about other tennis players. The Aussie has been tuning in to Logan Paul's podcast, and it looks like he has much to say. In a recent appearance on Logan Paul's podcast, Impulsive, Kyrgios said that no other player on the circuit was worth watching but Nadal, Djokovic, and himself. He also said that ticket sales were up because of him, and interest in tennis was growing among a new audience. The 27-year-old was subjected to an onslaught of criticism from tennis fans worldwide who blasted him for his excessive narcissism. Many were taken aback by Kyrgios' brazen declaration. Some fans were so mad they couldn't help but point out that he has only won 7 championships so far, and that none of them are really significant. And so he really isn't that much of a big deal. And that wasn't all. Nick was also asked how tennis players prepped for the match, to which he responded that they eat, play, and train together. Then he got a question about tennis players trash-talking before the game, and surprisingly, it looks like there's none because Nick cleared the air and said they don't do that in tennis. This next one is about a man who's often compared to Nick because of his loud mouth. It's about the time John talked about Ivan's talent or the lack of it. John and Ivan's rivalry is one that was one of the famous of their time. John was usually famous for saving his most vile remarks for the umpire, but this time he decided to unleash his wrath on his opponent. This one time, McEnroe said he's got more talent in his pinky than Lendl has in his whole body. Ouch. According to John, he's not the kind of person who brings out the best in others around him. He also added that tennis has been going downhill because of players like him, and then, as if all that insult wasn't enough, the 7-time Grand Slam winner said, "Do you like a robot being the world's #1?" while referring to Ivan. Plus, that wasn't even the only time he trash-talked some other player. This one time, McEnroe warned his Czech opponent, "You'll be sorry you hit me, you communist," after the player accidentally struck him with a tennis ball. Wow, the temper of this guy is unreal. This next was so inappropriate that the player got fined and suspended. It's the time Nick Kyrgios called out Stan Wawrinka. During a match in 2015, the Aussie allegedly made a vile remark to the tennis legend Stan about his then-girlfriend Donna Vekic. And what he said was so outrageous that it ended up sparking one of the most heated controversies in modern tennis history. So right in the middle of the game, the Aussie called out to Stan and said, "Kokkinakis your girlfriend." Sorry to tell you that, mate. It looked like Stan didn't hear what he said, so there was no reaction, but later on someone told the player what the Aussie had said, and it was pure chaos. The Canadian Open's former director said there was so much anger after the match that he thought the two might fight in the Montreal locker room. Apparently, Wawrinka abruptly left the post-match news conference to confront Kyrgios, and then to let the world know how disappointed he was. He went on Twitter and tweeted that what Nick said was something that he'd never say, even to his worst enemy. Wawrinka also added that it was unacceptable for a man of Nick's level to stoop so low. This next time is when the players got a bit handy with each other. It's the time Corentin Moutet played against Adrian Andreev. In the 16th round of the Open d'Orléans tennis tournament, Corentin and Adrian fought after the match while greeting one another at the net. Moutet said on Instagram that Andreev had insulted him twice and threatened him before the chair umpire intervened. Corentin then resorted to social media after the event to clarify what had happened between him and Andreev, and honestly, many sided with him after hearing his side of the story. According to him, he has no intention of apologizing for the match's climactic events because he wasn't wrong. Moutet said, "When a player tells me F you twice while staring me in the eyes, I can't help but make him realize in my own manner that these are not things that can be done." And if that were not cruel enough, he claimed that Andreev had threatened him and told him to wait outside the court. Yikes, was he planning to turn the tennis game into an MMA match? This next one was an Australian Open feud that had us stunned. It's the time when things between Daniil Medvedev and Diego Schwartzman got a little heated. So here's what happened. The Russian star got super mad at Schwartzman for allegedly failing to apologize for a net-cord ball that dribbled past the net to give him the point. Super pissed, Medvedev continued to confront Schwartzman with a verbal onslaught that continued for the duration of the match, and it was truly chaotic. They would have been probably hitting each other had the umpire not stopped them. Yep, you heard that right. When Medvedev and his opponents started fighting near the net during the match, umpire Mohamed Lahiani called a code violation and had to break them apart before things got out of hand. And then Daniil began fighting with the chair umpire. He swung his racket twice, striking the chair twice. This led to a second code penalty for Medvedev. Later, Diego claimed he and Medvedev were no longer friends after what had happened on the court. He was taken aback by Daniil's reaction since he said that the two of them had a really excellent rapport. And then he decided he didn't want to keep that friend anymore. He said he wasn't one of those people who keep what happens in the court aside, and come to think of it, he was right to be disappointed. After all, the two had been training together and were friends. And that's all I had for you today on times tennis players disrespected other players.